Commodore, my 64, my Commodore 64.
The evil Bungeling Empire is at it again. You might remember them as the villains in Lode Runner, or the ones taking hostages in Choplifter. This time, they're building a massive war machine to take over the world, diverting their island nation's entire supply chain to make it happen. Unless you can stop them. You are a highly skilled helicraft pilot, and your mission is simple. Destroy 6 heavily fortified factories before the enemy completes its war machine. But time isn't on your side. The longer you wait, the more the Empire builds, and the tougher the fight becomes. That's the setup for Raid on Bungeling Bay, a brilliantly designed shooter for the Commodore 64 released in 1984. So buckle up, pilot. We're flying into enemy territory to check out one of the 64's most iconic shooters. Raid on Bungeling Bay was the very first game published by legendary developer Will Wright. You might know him as the mastermind behind blockbusters like SimCity, Spore, The Sims, but this is where it all began. Wright first learned to program in BASIC on an Apple II in the early 80s, and soon was using it to connect and control homemade robots and also to develop games and simulations. These projects always needed more computing power, so when the more capable Commodore 64 launched in 1982, Wright grabbed one immediately. He dove in, learning how to squeeze every drop of performance out of it. Armed with this powerful new tool, Wright began designing a simulated world with interconnected supply chains focused on building military power. That would become Bungeling Bay, a scrollable island nation spanning over 100 screens on the C64. With the concept in hand, Wright pitched his work to several publishers in the US, and Brøderbund came on board. Together they worked throughout 1984, and by December, the game was ready for release. That release capped off a remarkable year for Brøderbund, who had already published 64 classics like The Castles of Dr. Creep, Karateka, and Spelunker. Raid on Bungeling Bay was another hit for them, selling between 20 and 30,000 copies in the US alone, and the NES port would sell close to 1 million. Not bad for a game where blowing up factories is considered a good day at work. In the game, you take the cockpit of a helicopter stationed on an aircraft carrier somewhere in the middle of Bungeling Bay. You start with 5 lives, unlimited missiles, and 9 bombs. Your mission? Destroy the 6 factories as quickly as possible. Easier said than done. Enemy fighter jets, tanks, boats, a network of missile launchers, and eventually a superpowered battleship stand between you and victory. Your helicopter can take up to 100 points of damage before spiraling to its doom. This is shown on the control panel at the bottom of the screen and cleverly reinforced with color around the border. Green when you're healthy, yellow as things get hairy, and red when you're basically 1 bullet away from a very expensive swim. Luckily, your aircraft carrier is a safe home base, at least most of the time. You can land to repair your copter or resupply bombs, but the enemy knows the carrier is crucial too. They'll attack it whenever they can, so if it goes down, you're down to 1 final crash before it's game over. Speaking of crashing, the game even makes that interesting. When your copter is critically damaged, you have one last trick. You can steer it into an enemy installation or factory as you spiral towards doom, dealing significant damage. It's a fun little revenge for your demise mechanic that can sometimes turn the tide, because nothing says heroic like taking an enemy down with you. To succeed, you'll need to destroy factories quickly. The first couple are fairly easy, often needing just a single supply of bombs. But over time, the factories and their defenses get stronger. Fortunately, Bungeling Bay is a fully simulated world, and you can slow your enemy down in creative ways. Destroy radar dishes to blind enemy aircraft, sink supply ships to delay defenses, or bomb the destroyer while it's under construction to keep it off your carrier's back. This intuitive, interconnected environment is one of the game's most impressive features. Every ship, airplane, and radar installation matters to the enemy. Knocking out a supply ship won't cripple them, but it might buy you the extra time needed to win. It's subtle, brilliant design, probably unnoticed by most players, but giving the game a lot of depth. But even if you're playing perfectly, the final couple factories are brutally tough. You'll need skill, practice, and a little luck, but it's always a thrill when you take them out. When you destroy the last factory, the game presents one of multiple endings based on your performance. Finish with all helicopters intact, full-blown triumph parade and a celebratory newspaper headline. Lose multiple copters, the headline reflects it. Destroy the last factory by smashing into it, the headline will honor your sacrifice, but there is no parade because you're not there. Multiple endings were novel in 1984 and give the game plenty of replay value. And of course, the high scoreboard adds another layer of fun, because beating the Bungeling Empire is satisfying, but beating a buddy, way better. Graphically, Raid on Bungeling Bay is very impressive. The coastlines, buildings, and vehicles are all clearly defined and the world feels alive and dangerous. Explosions pop on the screen with satisfying flair, and the little radar map in the corner is both practical and well designed. The smooth scrolling environment that spans such a large map really shows how much graphical horsepower Wright was able to squeeze out of the 64. The sound, however, is a bit modest. There's no music to speak of, and the effects are fairly basic. That said, I do love the alert sounds. They add a touch of tension and make it feel like something really important just happened. And really, the sound effects may be basic, but hey, so is my piloting. Minor audio shortcomings aside, Raid on Bungeling Bay is still an incredible game. Graphics, gameplay, and clever design more than make up for it. The Commodore 64 Appreciation Society absolutely adores Raid on Bungeling Bay, and we're definitely not alone. The game received excellent reviews when it first launched. Commodore User gave it 17 out of 20, praising its graphics and strategic depth. Commodore Horizons scored it 21 out of 24 stars, highlighting the smooth controls and scrolling landscapes. Other magazines of the time were just as enthusiastic. And the praises held up. Today the game sits at 8.49 on Lemon 64, putting it within their top 100 Commodore 64 titles. And in 1996, Computer Gaming World ranked it as the 24th best game of all time, proof that sometimes the classics really do hold up better than my reflexes. As mentioned earlier, Raid on Bungeling Bay was Will Wright's first published game, and there's a direct line from this helicopter shooter to his next project, which became the foundation to one of gaming's greatest franchises. While developing Raid on Bungeling Bay, Wright built two tools to help him along the way. CHEDIT was a character editor he used to create graphical assets, while WEDIT let him design the game's simulated world, an aspect he found especially fascinating and wanted to push further. With the financial freedom earned from Raid on Bungeling Bay, especially its successful NES release, Wright was able to focus entirely on the simulation side of game design. He kept refining those tools, designing more complex worlds, and eventually laid the foundation for his next project, a game called Micropolis for the Commodore 64, later renamed SimCity. That game went on to sell over 2.5 million copies across multiple platforms, and it helped launch the incredibly lucrative and still thriving simulation genre. All of that success cemented Wright's status as a legendary developer. His accolades include a BAFTA Fellowship in 2007, induction into the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences Hall of Fame in 2002, and a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Game Developers' Choice Awards in 2001. Not bad for a guy starting out on the Commodore 64. Thanks for the great games, Will. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like or subscribing. And if you have any memories of Raid on Bungeling Bay or ideas for other games you'd like to see covered, drop them in the comments. Hope to see you again soon.